So we are continuing on through a message that I taught through Nehemiah about rebuilding the wall in Jerusalem and the gates. Each part of those gates has something very important for us to learn. And this gate is a gate that I think many people could be in right now and very important to them. So I hope you can glean something from this, learn, and be able to apply it to your life. Here is the Valley Gate.
Verse 13, Hanan and the inhabitants of Zanoah repaired the valley gate. They built it and hung its doors with the bolts and bars, and they repaired 1,000 cubits of the wall as far as the refuge gate. The valley gate opens up to the valley of Hinnom. The Hinnom Valley would be on the west side of the city, and it would go the extent of the wall. This is where the people who were idolater worshippers would go, and they would worship to Molech and to Baal. And those was where they would do the child sacrifices. They would offer their babies to Molech in exchange for prosperity. Their firstborn was the one to be offered. Even in Baal, they would have sexual orgies and child sacrifices to worship to Baal. And this was known as a bloodbath of a valley. It was a dark and represented a lot of sinfulness. The Greeks actually translates it to a Gehenna, which is hell. So this is the valley of hell. Also, it might be noted somewhere as the valley of fire. It's just a very dark valley. But you would have the valley gates that you would go into the valley. And as you walk through the valley gate into a valley, it's humbling. To go into the valley is humbling, and honestly, you find out where you're at spiritually when you're in the valley. Your dependence upon God is escalated. Your alertness, your awareness. This is often a time when we go into valleys of a trial that we would walk through. And every one of us will walk through a valley at some point of our life. If we're walking through it, have we walked through it? We will walk through it. We will walk through a valley at some point in our life. But God refines our relationship in valleys. This is crucial that God uses a valley in our lives. And when we come up out of the valley, we have that perspective that we really belong there. That's just kind of our nature. But our God delivers us. The valley represents God's correction. David wrote in Psalm 23, he says, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil. For you are with me, your rod and your staff comfort me." That's rod and staff is correction. He's saying, God, your rod and staff, your correction of my life is comforting to me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall fall on me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. This valley gave, this time that David wrote this, gave David perspective and drew him closer to the Lord. It is in this gate that we read last week in chapter 2 that Nehemiah went out. Remember, he went at night and he was to assess the wall. He went out the gate to see the damage. Sometimes we got to go out the gate to see the destruction of our lives, to see where the holes are, the failures in our life. We've got to go out to assess our failures and our hypocrisies. In order to go out into a valley it breaks us of looking down, because we can do that. We can look down on people. We can look down on situations and culture. We can look down with judgment. Sometimes it starts off innocent, but it can turn into judgment in our hearts and our minds. And when we go out into this valley, we're going down. And that forces us to look up to our God and see how God sees those that we are with now. It gives us perspective. But we have to go out this gate to do that, to get that perspective